Okay, today we are talking about 3D printing in facilities maintenance. So what is a 3D printer? Well, here's sort of a generic example of what a 3D printer looks like. They do come in different sizes, different capacities, different voltage requirements depending on if you need a 120 volt outlet, 240, etc. If you need a really big one. But some of the basic components, you got the nozzle, the hot end, the extruder, the cooling fan, the frame, the print bed, where the 3D object is actually built up or printed, and the display. On the right hand side, you see a spool of PLA filament, and the filaments come in different colors. And some 3D printers can even print in different types of materials. Some of them can even print in metal. So depending on what type of plastic you need it to be. So some factors to consider. Do you need to print a one-off, custom little part one time and never again? Or do you need an ongoing production of 3D printed product? What is your budget? Some of these 3D printers can start around a couple $100 and go all the way up to several $1,000s, depending on how big of a 3D printer you need. Obviously, the bigger the items you need to print, the bigger the 3D printer needs to be. Quantity, again, as we spoke about, do you need one piece or do you need 1,000 pieces? Structural requirements, are you printing something to be structural component, or is it just more for aesthetics, or it's not going to have any stress put on it where you have to worry about it breaking or cracking or fatiguing? And then maintenance. These 3D printers do require some cleaning and routine maintenance and lubricating, replacement of the filament. Sometimes the print heads might need to be replaced or repaired, etc. And time. Do you have a dedicated employee that can spend time operating and maintaining your 3D printer? And space. Do you have the space in your facility to designate for a 3D printer? And ideally, a 3D printer needs to be on a flat, level surface and not in a dusty, dirty environment or exposed to the elements. It needs to be in a fairly clean environment. So here's an example of a Tang lock washer cup and die beveling tool that I designed and we 3D printed in-house. Again, we only had to make one of these, but there was other components we were going to 3D print. This just happens to be an example of something to show you. So if it's not in the budget, or you don't have the space or time to dedicate to having your own 3D printer in your facility, another option, you can outsource this 3D printing to an online website like Xometry. I personally have used them. Here's a snapshot of a product I had them print for me. I designed a 34-degree pitch mixer impeller and uploaded my STL file to their website, and they give you an instant price quote, and they include shipping options, as you can see. And at the bottom of the screen, you can see where you would upload your 3D model file, and those are the different formats they accept. And in this case, I was ordering 3. Now, the price is going to range depending on what type of material you're printing out of, how big the item is, how many items you need printed. Sometimes the color makes the price go up, sometimes the finish. So if you need something that needs to be perfectly smooth and glossy and showroom quality finish, that's going to be more expensive than something that can have a rougher finish on it. So again, here's a 3D model that I uploaded to xometry.com, and you can see on the right the finished product was a manual mixer for a 55-gallon drum. And I used set screws to hold these impellers to the shaft. That's what the holes are in the impeller that you see there. A couple other objects that we 3D printed in-house at my employer. On the left-hand side was a custom spacer for some corrugated tubing. There was 3 pieces of corrugated tubing that needed to stay separated from each other, but held together with a spacer that we designed. On the right-hand side was a custom cover that our paint shop used, and you'll see there's a notch with the radius, and that slipped over perfectly over pumps that they had to repaint consistently all the time. So instead of wasting masking tape and paper, they would just slip this cover over the top, paint the pump, take the cover off, put on the next pump, etc. So sometimes 3D printed products can be the most cost effective, help reduce costs in your production line. You can make custom tools, jigs, you name it. I hope this video helped. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave me a comment for future video topics you would like me to cover.